Check. You guys hear us now?
Okay.
Set. Okay. We got a ton. Sorry.
Nobody dismissed the Janet.
So we'll go back and repeat some of this stuff real quick. Sorry, I apologize for not having the audio worked out correctly, but I restructured the team so that everybody that's school and technology out in your buildings is all on the same team, working together to collaborate. And for those of you who missed the audio, Janet Van Zant is leaving at the end of the month, so the 29th. So 16.5 days. Not that she's counting minutes yet, but she's close. We'll get down there shortly. So please drop Janet an email. Wish her the best of luck. We do. And we remind everybody that we are here to serve you guys. This is our job, is to serve and support you in support of your students. Our ultimate goal is to make sure that we're all here doing whatever we need to do. We are all not afraid to roll up our sleeves and sweep the floor, do whatever it takes to get the job done. So please understand that that's what we're here for. Sometimes we may ask clarification and things like that. Ultimately, we are here to do the right strategic things for you and your students. With Tina's help and Brian Mitchell's help from the support desk, we have a new CRT website. I know we have a lot of new CRTs, so I do want to remind you that we do have a CRT website. Great information on the CRT website. Underneath the home, have the device support meetings. Is for the upcoming meetings for the rest of the year. So if you want to put those on your calendar and get the calendar event out there for you. We're going to try quarterly. We're also going to try and do other meetings of smaller chunks with things like that as well. There's a lot of great resources. There's training modules. There's videos. The team, all of our teams, including the support center, we're all working to add more and more content to this to make it easier for you folks to find the source of truth of what you're looking for, answer, and things like that, so that you're not scrambling and searching around. So use it as your go-to place. Always just go to crtdcsdk12.org to find what you're looking for. That's the best thing I can recommend. Yes.
Is still some content on the old site, or we're trying to get that?
Okay. From online, we're trying to move the content from the old site over to the new site. So you might still find some stuff on the old site while it's in transition as quickly as we can. So please bear with us during that transition. How to get help from all of us. I have a variety of ways to get help from everybody. First to go to would be the Google Plus communities. This is if you have general questions for things related to management and imaging. You're going to go to the RD&I Google Plus community. Okay, so those questions in there. The DC School Technology Google Plus community, that is going to be questions and discussions related to software and tech tools that you might be using. So we're trying to do those a little bit separate because sometimes there's teachers in technology that aren't in the RD&I, and that way, anybody can join whichever one they want, but, we want to try and keep the conversations a little bit separate so that some teachers don't get their head blown up by learning how to image IaaS and all that stuff. We don't want smoke coming out of their ears. They got enough to deal with. So the DCSD IT Google Plus community. Right now, it is really just kind of used for some announcements from IT. It's not really going to be where you're going to go ask questions necessarily related to IT and things like that. Use the other two communities for that. Because a lot of folks don't know about Doug's list. Doug is a great place to go in and ask if someone has some extra stuff that they're not using anymore, or for you to sell or unload some stuff that you no longer need. It's a very active community for a lot of work. This is not managed by IT. We just set up the Google Plus community to facilitate you guys changing stuff in between schools. Okay? So you don't just dip involved. You don't need anybody in IT to help you with these transactions. You guys can do the transfers of funds if you're purchasing carts or devices from other schools. But please definitely use this because we have a lot of things going on in here, a lot of great opportunities for you guys to buy some used equipment, stuff other schools might not need, or even ask or a couple mice or whatever you want. So definitely use that one. The DCSD library programming Google Plus community. This is Linda Conway and her team from the IDC. This is their community for questions and discuss programming. I know sometimes our support needs cross over into there. So if you have specific questions related to library services and things like that, definitely put them in there. And the last way to get help is to go, if you have specific targeted questions, or to purchase things from the shop, those types of things, please put in a help desk ticket. No, not say, please email, chat, text, or anything, anybody on the team. That is not an efficient way to get a hold of everybody in these teams, directly, because we hand that off to someone else. We might be out of the office, things like that. And if you need a timely response, we're not going to be able to provide that to you if you're, giving us a phone call, sending us a text or whatever. So please try and reduce the number of times that happens and use one of these channels instead. That's really going to help us out, because there's going to be times where Curtis is busy out at a school, and we'll see something get thrown up in a community, and one of the STIPs or someone else on the device engineering team is going to jump in and answer the question. So you cross-train each other, get the knowledge out there. Even if it's specifically related to, a device or something, if it's network or whatever, we're going to jump in and we're going to reach out to Nick and his team and get answers for you, and then put it back in the community. That's probably going to help a lot more people. We like the communities, because if you're asking the question, there's probably one other school in our district asking the exact same question. So the community really helps out. Okay, and feel free to start in the communities as well. You guys are doing an awesome job. Love how the community is actually starting to be a community. And for a while, the school technology community was Mark's message board. Kind of got tired of seeing my posts all the time in there. So I'm glad that it's starting to become actually a community, and everybody's coming in and jumping in there, because that's really what it should be. Over there so that he can do some talking, and I can get out of the way.
Thanks. Yeah, so the idea here is that we want to start targeting some different opportunities throughout the year. And ultimately, we should be able to buy WebEx, kind of like what we're doing here. So if people can't attend, they can be at their desk at their site and ask a question during these things, and also everything will be recorded and documented and hosted somewhere else later so people can review it. Recycling process is something of a changing process, in that we find better ways to do it now that we start trying to. And I did document some things over the summer, but it got to the point where there were some other things that we need to add to it before we can publish anything, and I have to go sit in the room with a microphone and be by myself to do that little video for everybody. So we will be publishing something about recycling, but what we want to make sure to do is, when we recycle any device, some way, we want to record the serial number of that device first, be deleted out of any inventory, remove it for you out of inventory, and then we want to associate a help desk ticket with it. As an example, on a Mac computer or an iPad, it may be part of Apple's device enrollment program, which means it's part of our inventory forever. We can't do anything. Another company can't use it until we run out of DEP. So what we ask you guys to do is, and there's a few directions within the help desk ticket. So there's a ITS recycling category, and you can choose Mac, you can choose iPad, you can choose Windows, and there's specific directions in there. But if you can capture that in there the best that you can, just get us the serial numbers. Apple devices, get us the serial numbers. That's all we don't need a device name or anything. We assume it's yours if it's coming from you. So we'll take care of it. We're also going to start looking at possibly some configurator use, potentially. Using configurator still, even though we have MDM, it can do some things for you in device kind of restored and back into your environment, so it can be managed and apps can be pushed to it. So hoping to do at some point this quarter is work with Curtis and come up with a way of this is how every configure station is going to look. These are the 2 or 3 different ways we use them, and then do some training on it. One single wireless profile simplifies everything in terms of enrolling a device and applying a wireless profile to it. So we could potentially be using Configurator to do some restores on the OS and bring the device back to the DM. And everybody has questions constantly about the JSS. Used to do training on that. I've done about 3. We had some boot camps over the summer one year. I can't remember what summer it was. It could have been summer. It could have been 7 years ago. I have no idea. It all the same to me. But yeah, we want to give you guys some tools and some basics, and kind of more understanding. It's a very big tool. There's a lot of tabs to click on. There's a lot of little under the tabs. Once you click on a tab, they click on different things. See mostly things like policy history and just very red flags to tell you what's wrong. You can look in certain things. So I want to do some more training on that. And we've done it before. We've done it in the past, but we've never recorded it. We've did it on any site. So we want to do that this year. Some news about imaging. If you see a netbooter on this list to the right, that means a site-based netboot and distribution. What Chris out did over the summer, and I helped a little bit, was to kind of find what over a certain threshold of max at their site. And I think the threshold was around 200 or 250. I had all these Mac Minis, and if Melissa's here, thank you. Where are you? Melissa ordered us a ton more Mac Minis to use for this. Traded her some computers that are still sitting on a shelf. Sorry, Melissa. But swapped out with her because she basically said that she didn't necessarily need that particular hardware in her building. So, and we did. So what these Mac Minis act as now is local distribution and local netboot. That have to adhere to my schedule anymore. And I don't see anybody in the room that hates it, but I know there's a few people that really hate that schedule. So you have to adhere to it. There's going to be a slight caveat to that. We're hosting a Sierra netboot image on your local minis because so few machines right now that are shipping that are firmware locked to the OS. So we're hosting Sierra. And if you kind of look in what we have documented here, image Macs, on the Macs you'll see a gray screen when you option boot. You will see a black screen. That black screen shows you'll see a different resource in there. You see 3 resources for just your Macs that boot from Casper, and then your gray screen. However, on black screen you'll see Sierra. That means you need it. You get up off the ground if you choose Casper. On a going to need Sierra. We're not hosting Sierra on your local Mac Minis yet, and it's possible that by this summer we may. It's really hard to say. So it depends on how many everyone's ordering and that sort of thing. So we'll just kind of adjust from that. But understand what option boot is. You're looking for the options, and anytime you choose the outside Macintosh HD, you are booting from something else, so you can then manipulate, erase, restore Macintosh HD. So the idea of option booting versus the old way of net booting. Net booting is going to always default to Casper. If you just hold the N key, it's going to go straight. And if you got newer machines, they will not boot from that. The thing to make note of is that you might be booting off of Casper, which is running 10.11. You can set to install 10.12. What does the machine need to get off the ground, not what you want to put on it? So that boot is different than an imaging configuration that restores the device. So you put an imaging configuration on of Sierra, but you might be net booted from LCAP or 10.11. Just something of note there. On to the next slide here. with more Mac Minis at the data center now for iCaching. So what I've noticed over the last couple of years, especially Curtis has noticed this, it's all over when we try to update too many apps. And on off hours, which means Curtis is doing a lot at home and at night, what we would do is alleviate some of that stress and start enabling apps to update automatically more. And if you have app caching, what that means is you that are part of a feeder area, the high has its own public IP address. Means private addresses of 1085 dot something or 136 dot something or whatnot. At school, all of your traffic is viewed outside as one address. That's a public IP address. That's different. So register those public IP with Apple, and anytime traffic comes from one of those addresses and Apple sees it, then they have a caching server registered. Use that, and then the device will pull it locally. So if you have a new app that no one's ever used before at your site, and maybe it's a new Google 2.0 app, the first time you reach out to Apple for that app, you will get it directly from Apple. But then the caching service will see that you got it from Apple, and then it will say, oh, I'm going to go get that for later. And the next 20 that ask for Google 2.0 will all get locally from the caching server. So again, every high school has its own public IP address, every middle has its own public IP address, and then every feeder area group of elementary schools has its own public IP address. So we got 6 public IP addresses to 28. 29 if you include DCSD guests. This is DCSD guests at their school. Good. Awesome. Good answer. Very glad to see it. What? You turn it off, please. CTO. He wants it on for guests. But really, if it's, we've been putting something out for 2 years that tells the manage the device anyway on that side. If it's on, it's going to kick it out wireless and strip it out of the preferred networks. But then somebody again, and we can't stop that from happening. So, does anybody have questions on either summer imaging for the next summer or the app caching? I don't know what's next.
There we go. Okay, it's a movie. It's a movie. It's a quick little video. So this is something that discovered and was able to test out. It is using a Arduino micro board, which is about $10, and some code that a vendor put together, and then I had to do some code modifications, so I had to dust off my coding skills this week, and so that it can join WPA2 wireless. But what's cool about this is I can plug this into a brand new Chromebook out of the box, and it will do all the enterprise enrollment, including joining the network for me, automatically, for about. So what it's doing, and it's a video while we're talking here. So hold on. So what we're doing is I'm trying to find a inexpensive reseller that I can purchase these. Oops, you're killing my video, bro.
He told me the audio got turned on.
Oh, did?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's no audio, but there's no sound with this video, right?
So the mic is mute. Let me go back here. Let's go. So plug this in. It waits 2 seconds, and then it starts executing all the keyboard commands for you. That is all it's doing. It's very smart, but it does a heck of a job. So I'm trying to find a source where I can purchase some of these, 8 to 10 of these, get them all loaded up, and then when you have a batch of Chromebooks come in to your site, 40, 50, 100, whatever, the desktop support person or the STIP or whatever will bring these out to you and help you plug these into all your devices to get them all done. Okay? It takes a minute, 35 seconds to do it using this. I did manually, and it took me a minute, 27 seconds. First time, I didn't have any typos. This eliminates typos. So I think potentially that we have some tech-savvy kids, they can help us plug this USB. When it's finished, you'll see in just a second you actually have to click the done button on the keyboard, type in these credentials and stuff to put it into your OU. But the only thing you have to do is when it's finished, you just hit done and it will enterprise enroll and put into your OU, because we will change the code on here to be a specific Chrome login so it gets to your OU for you. So pretty slick process at a pretty minimal cost that I think will save a bunch of time. I know you're like, dude, where were you 3 months ago when we had all of our devices rolled? I know, I wish I had this figured out, but I didn't stumble across it until this summer. But that we're looking, it's pretty useful. Yes, Jim.
You use like the power one, so like you got one that's whatever problem, you use the power refresh and then just plug it in as it comes up.
Yes, yes. So on, power wash this repeatedly during my testing, and cleaned it, and then plug this in, and it just starts from that screen. So your power wash device, because of lots of OS or whatever, you had to reinstall the OS or factory refresh it out of the box. This will work as enrollment for you. Yeah. So so like I said, I'm getting a source that can get me some of these quickly. The ones are obviously from China, and their shipping time is September 21st to November 2nd. That really worked for my window, so we're going to pay a little bit more and get these from someone from Amazon in a 2-day turnaround, and then some little USB so we can come and plug those in. We also found a for this that someone created and put out on Thingiverse. So Corey's printing some cases for me, so we can just clip that around it, so we don't accidentally break the board or damage the board or anything like that. So internet, when you can find some really useful things. But I'll share that with you. That's one of those things. We're always trying to find ways to do better, more useful stuff. And if you guys stumble across these and think something we can use in our environment, please share with us. Let us know. We'll test it out. We'll kick the tires. We'll see what we can do with it to get it to work. But yes, if you have lots of Chromebooks coming in shortly, let your STIP know, and we'll figure out a process that we'll get going here real quick so we can start racking and moving these. I think I'm scheduled for DC Oaks next week, but in the meantime, I'm going to try and order some more boards. All right. Questions and answers. What questions do you have? This is for you all, so we want to make sure this is useful. Yes? Great question. Has anybody had a rash of Chromebooks going dark? And the audio sounds like it just turned off again. No? So we heard about this from, who was it, Crest Hill. Chris had that happen. So I did some research yesterday and found that there is currently a bug out there in the Chrome OS. Google is aware of it. Their engineers are working on it. They have Chrome devices that you will put into a charge overnight, and when you open them the next morning, they have unenrolled themselves and they are back at the initial screen. So if they know, just found out about it and confirmed it yesterday, that it's happening out there. Google's engineers are working on it. Other than that, we don't have a solution for it. In screen?
The new Chromebooks, it powers up the display as initialized. I've seen it in a thumb drive somewhere.
So Joe was saying that he has seen it as well, that it will power will not initialize. So power wash.
Yeah, exactly.
So power, unfortunately, is the only solution. We can do some research on that and see if there's any bugs.
Unfortunately, that same bug in that OS, because they just came out. They said they to 60 the newest OS now, and I think we had the new big they'd have some bugs in this one. So hopefully maybe.
And version 60 is supposedly only affecting the new Dell 3180s. It's in any of your old Dell Chromebooks. It's only a glitch in the new ones. So keep that. Before we get to the next question, I want to take a second and say hi to Gautam, CTO. So for those that don't know Gautam, this is Gautam Stetson. I don't remember. Welcome. Hopefully you guys had
They will be able to handle it. Is that everything?
And God's our Chief Operating Officer, so he has an office in this building and an office in our building as well, so.
If you ever have kids with something, you let them know you know someone who can switch up either this thing or that.
Or both.
Between those two things.
Maybe cancel their bus.
You can walk.
Got a lot of power, so it's a good thing.
I don't want it, but.
Right. Questions? Yes. So then, for folks online, the question is, are we adding more items that can be purchased with tech rotation funds? What in particular are you thinking about? Case are not something that's on there. That's something we can continue to have a conversation about, but it's not something that's been on that list. Hard because everybody's different type of a case, and we don't have. That's why we don't even list cases on our STIP website as far as recommended and things like that, because it's different flavors and different variations. So something we can continue the conversation with.
Spend a lot of money on the, we got a lot of businesses work with some degree of district and got those through.
Still work with.
Right. Yeah. It's again something that we can continue the conversation. This year we had a breakthrough, helping people understand that those are absolutely necessary pieces of the infrastructure to support all the devices putting into the buildings. Without those, we have. And if we're not addressing that, then people are, stacking them in dish racks and, the power cords and creating fire hazards and things like that. So we'll continue those conversations. But let us know, let your STIP know of other, potentially, and we'll continue to raise those up.
That's something I've looked at the next. This already said. That's what we think we'll look.
Yep.
Well, advocating for the cases, if we have cases, and if these days, the entire program or one or whatever you're doing, if we have cases in the tech room, the element is so hard on them, and it's a big issue. When I have cases on them, I'm not turning them into get.
So we totally recognize that. We have different need and the necessity of having cases because part of it is teaching your kids to be responsible with technology and things like that, and doing our best effort with that. And I get it. Trust me. We totally understand. That's why we try to be in your buildings to understand what those experiences are like. So if the student isn't being more aware of that technology device because it has a case on it, if they go to another building or they go to the middle school or the high school, they develop poor habits of not wanting to support and maintain that device because they relied on the case helping protect. The differing opinions that we had in conversations related to cases, and so majority of schools in the district don't use cases on the Chromebooks and things like that. That's also why we have the 3-year accidental damage protection warranty to help support that, because we know that it's going to happen. So, Corey, thank you for being patient and raising your hand.
All right, here was the rumor of switching website platform from Drupal or something new. Are we sticking with Drupal for the time being?
Okay, question is about switching the website. I understood Summer, the community relations who supports school with their websites, had a new solution. I don't know where that is. So I would recommend that you contact Andrea Relations. I don't know her last name. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but Andrea's probably going to be the go-to person in community relations. So.
I was going to say, they put out an email last year to update it, and I think there were like 15 schools that did it, and it's through School Messenger.
Thank you. Yes.
We just got like template back, and then I think they're going to go live.
Okay. yes, there is a cost to it.
Yeah.
And God did approve using rotation funds to pay that cost. As what that takes away from devices in your building to pay that cost. But we know it's challenging to fund everything that you want to do. So thank you for that updated information. Corey, you got another one?
More, yeah.
Perfect.
Printing progress.
Printing progress. Great. So we are moving forward with switching from Equitrack to PaperCut, which is a different solution. Our timeline on that is October-ish. We're still trying to nail down and pin down some things to get some timelines dialed in. But the first of moving to PaperCut is just replacing Equitrack in your building with PaperCut for your Macs and your PCs. This will allow us using PaperCut to print from iPads, iPhones, and Chromebooks. Okay, so our goal is hopefully to have that possibly enabled for this school year until we see really what that's going to look like and what's it going to entail and what it's going to mean for all of you. We can't get quite a timeline on that. Potentially, PaperCut could also manage all of the printing devices in your building, including your HP printers and things like that. So you would be able to at your complete printing footprint for your building, which I'm asking for, especially you know, school and things like that. So PaperCut moving off of Equitrack is going to give us a lot of flexibility and things like that. Everything do management for us on that, along with Mark Brown and the IT department, so that we can ensure that we're not missing any of the pieces and parts. And that, so more information when we get some solid dates and things like that, more information will be coming out probably from Eric and Mark Brown or myself for what we're moving. But the first phase is just to get rid of Equitrack and replace PaperCut, and we hope to have that done October-ish. No, we haven't done any of the transferring of anything. So we'll notify you guys when transferring things, because to make sure that the sequence happens at the right time, the Konica Minolta devices can only have one print management piece of software on it. So update all of your school devices with PaperCut at the same we rip Equitrack out of your Konica Minolta and put PaperCut in it. So it's a sequence of events that has to happen so you're not down on printing. If your Konica printing issues right now, you definitely put in a service call with Konica so that their techs can come out and look at your Konica Minoltas. So there is a district-wide issue. So you have something on that.
Is there a license issue that is being reported on the content of this morning? Mike is looking at the issue. I don't know if that's what some of.
Great, thanks. So there's a licensing issue being reported on the Konicas. I was in meetings all morning, so I haven't paid attention to the latest outage. So thank you for bringing that to the table. I appreciate that. Perfect. So, and as soon as we have some resolution, we'll communicate that out. So
Just to jump on the PaperCut really fast, it's the Active Directory single sign based. So we currently use Equitrack is we use our badge numbers, and are not part of that. With the exception, I know Castleview does something different with their students, but at PaperCut bring everybody in. Active account, there's going to be people at your building, probably somebody like a registrar or whatnot, that becomes kind of like the oversight of who gets to print how much and to what. We're going to have your HP printers in PaperCut. Essentially, and this is right away, but eventually that direct IP printing that's set up from your Macs to your HPs is going to be removed, and everything's going to work through PaperCut. So you're going to define what students get to see what printers, what staff get to see what printers, and how much they get to print, either color or black and white. The other of this that should be noted that the 950s in your buildings, if you have a 950, it will be supported in PaperCut. So the 90s are going to be reverted over to direct IP printing from a device in the copy room. But usually the 250s are by either a single individual or a couple of individuals at your site, and for the big jobs. And they usually get jobs emailed to them, and they run that way anyway. So these will be direct IP print from specific devices. We'll be able to print those at all. They're going to be outside of PaperCut. Questions on that? Okay. The sites are going to have to be done site by site, like Mark was saying. We have to take Equitrack off of your Conica, PaperCut on, and in addition to that, we are going to have to create a policy in the JSS that moves Equitrack from all of your Macs and then installs a PaperCut client, which as that client gets installed, if I'm not mistaken, and then the user is going to be prompted for their Active Directory credentials. So it might be better served if we start removal and install in self-service for your staff members. And I'm not sure how we would do it with students right now. That might be phase 2. But information as I can give you on PaperCut. On the Windows side, I think it's actually a little easier when people, I believe it's through group policy, so those printers will be visible as you log in. There is probably nothing else that the user needs to do. I mean, like right now, when a user logs in, they see the printers that group policy allows them to see. Those printers will just via a different group policy. Nodding approval, so that is correct. Thank you, Janet.
It's right. Corey, another one from the crowd.
Got 2 more notes about YouTube. We'll start with YouTube approval for students whitelisting videos.
So the question is about YouTube videos, approval process, and things like that. All staff members in the district can approve videos to be viewed by people that are logged domain account. Okay? So you do be logged in your browser with your domain account in order to view approved videos. Some folks yesterday or the prior found out that even though you approve the video or the channel, there is still a 20% failure rate without approval actually working. One situation where the channel was approved, but you couldn't watch any videos. When approved the channel, but then individually approved the videos, you could watch the videos. It's a dialed-in situation. Unfortunately, YouTube in our Google Apps environment is not their core services, so it is not supported. So you cannot contact Google and say, fix this, because a core service, unlike Docs, Sheets, those types of things are. So the situations where you've approved a video and you still cannot watch that video for whatever reason. Know that because it is about a 20% failure rate, so it is kind of frustrating. Oh, the iBoss solution?
No, Keep My Vid is a website. You probably access that. To download
It's just KeepVid.
Or KeepVid.
KeepVid. The last I checked, it was, yeah. So you have a URL for a YouTube video, you can get that URL pasted to keepvid.com, and it will allow you to download different formats. It'll allow you to download like an MP4, AVI, or Windows Media File format. So that keepvid.com will allow. There's a copyright thing there.
I was going to say, so please be conscious of copyright. It's a solution if you need it for a class and you're showing a video to a class or whatever. Absolutely, I can and make sure I always have a video that I'm going to show during a meeting or a presentation locally as well, because sometimes various forms of technology, sometimes outside of our network, are involved and it just doesn't work. So if it's important to you, make sure you have a local copy, but also be cognizant of copyright concerns and things like that. So we always want to make sure that we're setting good examples for our students and showing them the best ways to handle what they need to in this society. And so that's kind of what we have to do. You can log in to the level 2 in the filter, and you should be able to view Vimeo videos.
Even ones that are that,
You have to filter, and then you have to go back to that web page and refresh the web page, and it should allow you to view that video. I know sometimes that doesn't completely work if it is the page. Sometimes you have to click on the video to open it up in Vimeo itself, take it out of the web page embed, and it up in Vimeo to view it. I know sometimes that embed thing makes it wonky. Yep. A rhyme or a reason to success path of that. So, another question.
Second one's also about YouTube here. They would like to create a school YouTube channel. Would they just create a YouTube? Is there a more appropriate version for young students? Would they need to address media consent? And do they create it, or is that done through?
Okay, question. So there's not a better place to do it than YouTube. Lots of schools have their own channels and various channels on YouTube. It's a perfect place for it. IT will want to get involved and help you set that up if we want to use a resource account to do that, so it's not tied to an individual employee at the building who might leave that building in the district or another position somewhere else. Things like, so it kind of lives with the school, kind of like what we do with our digital signage account, so it's not tied to that individual. So I can help with that, and then we'll go through the approval process, make sure that the channel is approved, so that any video end up uploading, make sure that they are, approval will cascade down. You will ensure that you address media concerns and not have kids that aren't allowed to be on the internet, pictures or images or video. You want that you have back in your mind as you're shooting videos. I know that's hard sometimes, so sometimes to trim little pieces and parts out. YouTube has a really nice video editor that makes it easy for you to trim some of those segments out if you have a kid that all of a sudden bombs your video or whatever. Shouldn't be, because once you put it on YouTube, you can restrict a little bit who can see it, but technically it's out there for the World Wide Web. So definitely want to think of that. So, yes?
Staff approves a video.
Nope. Nope. It's saying everybody in the district is all in that same, all staff are in that same group of the approval process. We don't have an extra layer of approval that you guys don't have. I noticed that there's a long turnaround time. Usually it's instantaneously. It should be fairly quick on that. Potentially. So send it to the channel and to some of the videos, and we'll see if there might be anything different that potentially be causing that delay to happen. Because it could be something we're not aware of. But when I go in and hit approve and then use an incognito browser, I can see that video right away after the approval process. So hopefully saying that, because yeah, that's things that the teachers put some of the resources out there for the students, and it's taken a day or so to get the video approval. So, all right, how are we doing on time? So we're right tight on time. No, we're good. So what I wanted to do is have the opportunity. We had oops. Move over here, slide deck. We've had a couple schools in the district that started doing feeder area get-togethers. So Chaparral started last year. Janelle Mills started organizing this for all the tech people in the Chaparral feeder area to get together. And they were able to have 3 or 4. This County High School just had an event a couple weeks ago after school. They went over to Foul Line, and all the people in Douglas County feeder area got together and had a chance to meet each other. And to have a conversation, at least put a name to a face of people, because we know how busy in our buildings. You have potentially no idea because supporting technology down at the elementary schools that might feed up to you at the high school and vice versa, and the middle school folks into the mix and stuff like that. So we really want to encourage feeder areas to start having some feeder areas together. part of the outcome I was able to attend a couple of them from Chaparral last year. Part of them was that's understanding what each group is doing at the different levels and what they're teaching their kids and how they could potentially better align things to make it for that feeder area and for those students, so that they weren't having to reteach at the middle school or the high school potentially because the elementary already covered it. And making all the elementaries are kind of covering a similar baseline. It was pretty interesting, so we definitely want to start. We have a little bit of time. Not all feeder areas are represented here, so we'll just kind of go by regions, I guess, because I know a lot of virtual folks as well, and we easily adapt all the virtual folks into doing this. So I was thinking, you know, like if the Parker schools went up here, and the Highlands Ranch School folks go in the back, and then the Castle Rock schools, you guys come on over here, and you can just introduce yourself, what do you have, and who do you support, and things like that, just so we can kind of get some names and faces and introduce each other. You have a question for me, Corey?
Can you give me in chat the ability to talk to all participants for this?
What you can do, what I was just going to say, is if you want to chat with the people in your feeder area and you don't necessarily know who they are, I'm pretty up to date with the imaging-hs-feeder@psdk12.org group. So 9 groups. You're all a member of one of those 9. So if you ever want to reach out to everybody in your feeder area, you can use that group to reach out to them and send just an email to that group and say, hey, I'm going to get together. And it should go to everybody currently that should be. Maybe a few exceptions if people are brand new, I may not have added them to that group.
Example in chat, just type the group name and that.
Yeah, so add it to the end of this presentation, and I'll put a link out to this presentation on the calendar item. Everybody gets a notification of this. We'll also add the recording. We'll put that on the CRT website. We'll put that out in the community so you guys will see that. So we definitely want to make sure that when they're being answered and things like that, we hopefully recorded the session well, and hopefully when it stops, it won't delete. We'll see what happens. But we definitely want to try and record these because we know not everybody can participate in time. We want to make it flexible and adjustable for everybody. So we'll also make sure the groups get there so that everybody knows what imaging groups you guys add as your member if you want to for communicating amongst your feeder areas. If you guys, want to prep and move into your feeder groups, all the resources here, we're going to be here continuing, hanging out if you guys want to ask questions, chat up here. I'm Network God.
We'll probably bid farewell to everybody.
Yeah, so we're going to bid farewell to everybody online. Thank you guys for joining us. What'd you say, Cass? Over